All right, for those who are not able to be here, we are recording. All we've done so far was get the agenda link into the chat for everybody. So we're about to kick our meeting off with a math task, and there is a link to a set of Google Slides that we are going to use for that task in the meeting agenda. I will also drop that link into the chat for those who are not able to get into that agenda, but we are going to be going into breakout rooms in just a moment, and I will share my screen as I'm discussing the task. So Melissa and I played around with creating this task, and full disclosure, we were using school AI to help us try to generate the task. And neither of us are the most confident with AI. We are working to improve our practice and become comfortable, but AI helped us generate this task. But the AI side of things was all on Melissa's platform. And since she is stuck in the car, we are pivoting and leading this task out just via a tried and true Google slide. So bear with us, I was creating this right before our meeting, but we are going to today our task is inspired by the Christmas Carol, the 12 Days of Christmas, and your task is going to be to work with your group to determine how many birds are gifted in the classic Christmas Carol, the 12 Days of Christmas. We have this image to help you remember the lyrics to that song. You are also welcome to research the lyrics if you need to, but you are being asked to build models, tables, equations, or other representations to help you organize your thinking as you complete this task. And we're not going to talk about this whole group, but within your breakout rooms, I want you to start off with a discussion about what assumptions you need to make in order to complete this task. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. We have 26 people on the call right now, and I'm going to put you into groups of 3. So I'm going to open up some breakout rooms real quick. And we will spend about 5 minutes working on the task, and I will set those breakout rooms to close automatically. Any questions before we go ahead and send you into your breakout rooms?
Hey, Molly.
Yes.
The 3 Box Elder coaches are already in a meeting together.
Okay, if the 3 of you want to just not join your breakout room when it gives you the request to join, that's totally fine if you want to work on it in your room together. Any other questions? All right, I will drop that agenda into the link one more time because I know a couple of folks joined as I was speaking. Our agenda has a link to the math task that we're about to get started, and you are going to be sent to your breakout rooms now. You should be receiving that invitation. And our breakout rooms are closing in about 10 seconds, so we should have everybody coming back here shortly. Welcome back, everybody. I know that was not a long time to engage with our math task, but we wanted to give you a chance to warm up your brains. And I would love, before we debrief our task, for everyone to just do a quick gallery walk of the different breakout rooms and take a look, because as you were working, I was noticing that different groups seem to be approaching the task in different ways. So I would love for everyone to just do a quick shuffle through the various breakout groups and take a look at the work. And if anyone is willing to come off mute and share what you notice, I would love to have a little discussion about the different approaches that different teams took. Any noticings? I noticed some folks calling out in the chat. Rebecca said breakout 2 slide is great. Lisa says too many birds. We didn't have enough time. I know, Nicole, we probably didn't have enough time to do the task to completion. However, one thing I'm noticing, I'm looking at the different slides and I'm seeing some groups got to 1 partridge on day 1, 2 turtle doves on day 2, 3 French hens, 4 calling birds, 6 geese, and 7 swans, and had 23 birds. And then I'm looking at some other groups, and it looks like they were going a different approach. Would someone from room 2 be willing to share the thinking that your group was using as you completed your table?
Sure. So we were thinking that each day, like the assumption we made is like the gifts start over again. So on the first day, you would get 1 turtle dove, or no, sorry, 1 partridge in a pear tree. And then you'd have 2 turtle doves and a partridge. So that would be 3. And then the next day you would like add on, and the days that you didn't get birds, then that number would stay the same as the day before because that was the amount of birds that came with them. And then they would all be added together because it's like all the birds together.
No, thank you, Natalie, for sharing. Does anyone have any connections that they can make between the strategy that Natalie's group made and the strategy that your group made? I would love someone from breakout group 8 to share how what they did and how their strategy is similar to what Natalie's group did. Even if you didn't have time to finish group 8.
Well, we clearly did not have time to finish, but I was kindly reminded that yes, each day they're gifting the next thing plus everything previous. And so we were looking at, okay, if every day they're being gifted a partridge in a pear tree, so that's 1 times 12 days. And then for the second day, 2 turtle doves, so they're gifted that 11 of the 12 days. And so we looked at how many days each of the sets of birds would be gifted, and then we'd end up adding them all up. So it's similar in that we see that culmination of this guy who really doesn't love whoever this is to give them that many birds.
You don't want to organize that many birds in your house somewhere?
I love birds, but no, Sanctuary. Where's the sanctuary?
Thank you, Lisa, for sharing and for sharing that connection. We could spend more time talking about this task, but we just wanted to give everyone a chance to engage in mathematics together, mathematics themed with the holiday season, and disclose how Melissa and I have been playing with AI. AI and mathematics is going to be a topic that we discuss more in January and during our hybrid meeting in February. So just kind of priming the pump as to how we might explore these. Melissa, anything you want to add? I hope I didn't massacre the facilitation of your task too
Oh
badly.
my gosh, I am so appreciative of you doing it, and this is a fun task that I did every year with my second graders, and um, adding up really big numbers. It was just such a fun thing. The next task for next SMECC meeting will be if you're driving and at a dead stop and you keep watching Google Maps, it's going to be a Google Maps driving miles per hour sort of thing. But thank you for jumping in and doing that. I appreciate it.
No problem. All right, y'all, we're going to move on with our agenda so that we have time to do all of the things that we wanted to talk about today. And I will just share, we have a couple of community updates before we get to the main intention of our meeting today, which is our Q&A session to where we can discuss some of the questions that you all submitted or anything else that you have burning on your mind while we are together in our math community. But if you take a look at the agenda, the first item on there is elementary specific. So my secondary only folks, I apologize for stealing a minute of your time. But for our elementary folks, lit training, which is the training that our math team and the USBE early literacy team put on every late spring, early summer to help you prepare your early learning plans and your professional learning grants for the state. Those dates are scheduled for June 3rd or June 12th from 9 to 1. We will be providing lots of information during those sessions, as well as giving you some work time with the team available to help you complete your grant application and your professional learning plan. So I recommend getting in touch with your literacy counterparts and figuring out which of those two dates you want to attend and marking those on your calendar. Registration information will be coming soon. All of this is pending, no crazy changes happening in the legislative session, but we wanted to make sure that you had those marked on your calendar. So June 12th or June 3rd are the two dates to choose from. So please pencil those in. And then Melissa, did you want to talk about the links that you created to gather some information?
Yes, I would love that. So we frequently get requests from different LEAs or teachers about some questions going on in other LEAs across the state. One is whether or not an LEA is offering an elementary mathematics endorsement offering. If you would be so kind as to just click on the link and fill in any information that you have about that. And then I guess if you are and it's open to other LEAs or other teachers from other places. If you'll fill that information in, and then we would be happy to share. If you aren't, then no worries. But also, if you have teachers that might be interested, it's helpful to know where elementary endorsement offerings are happening. The math content specialist contact list is just information for you. Every year there's turnover and changes. If you would also be so kind as to find your tab along the bottom with your district or your charter and just fill in your information. If there's more than one content specialist or person in charge of that, then feel free to add new rows. And then the last one, on occasion we get questions about, while the state doesn't have anything to do with choice of curriculum, that's a site-based decision. Sometimes we have questions from different schools saying, hey, we're really interested in looking at this curriculum. Do you know of any other places that are using that? So, and then we also know that there are several of you that have done RFP for new curriculum. So if you would be willing to update any curriculum that you have. For elementary, secondary, there are different spaces for each one. And if you don't, if it's district created, that's fine to put that as well. But we're just trying to gather data to share with others. It took way too long. You've probably filled out all the links just in my explanation, but I'll stop talking so that you can actually have a chance to focus on that.
Thank you, everyone, for attending those, to filling those out. If you can continue to fill those out as I share this next piece, but we talked about AI a little bit earlier. Molly brought that up, and that'll be a focus later on in January and late in the session after that as well during our hybrid meeting. But we wanted to make you aware of an opportunity through the University of Utah uh, with AI in the mathematics classroom. I think their work sounds fascinating. And if you would like or are interested in engaging in some work around AI in the math classroom, they are doing some work with machine learning and artificial intelligence and making it accessible to high school students by integrating it directly into math classes. So we just wanted to make you aware of that opportunity that's there. There's a flyer you can click on, and the contact is Dr. Chenglu Li from the University of Utah. And I met with him the other day, and a, he was great to talk with, and he's excited for this work. So if that's something that you're interested in for your district, please take a look at that and decide if that makes sense to engage with it all in that space. The other thing, and I'm so glad that Becky's on here with us today as well, because we want to continue to ask if you have parent resource pages that you are sending parents to for links on support with mathematics. We would love to share out what you're sharing with your parents. And if you look on the elementary and the secondary, so I'm going to put a plug in for secondary here, because elementary has some resources that are in there. Currently, secondary, we don't have anything. So if there are any LEAs that have some resources in that secondary space, we would love for you to add some things in there. Becky, do you want to add anything here in this conversation?
Sure. Nothing like a little healthy competition there for you. And this is not meant to be a special ed thing. This is just that we have a family portal, a family portal on USBE's website. And this is meant to be a resource page for families. So we want to build that up. And our ELA friends have some things on there already. And so speaking of competition, we would like to beef up the math part of that. So far, I think they've already added the standards on there. And so we would like to put some resources on that page for our families. And we have to think about our homeschool students. We have to think about private school students, as well as our students that need some extra supports at home. We have a lot of students that transfer schools from school to school to school. They may transfer to a charter school and then back, or homeschool and then back to our schools. And so any sort of supports that are user-friendly for parents that mostly are free, that they can help their students at home would be really appreciated. We meaning me, will go through and kind of vet those and see how that they can help. I haven't figured out how to, well, I sort of think I know how I'll sort them. I'm hoping to sort them by standard so it can be helpful to the parent. I'm also kind of doing that sort of on purpose so that the parent can understand what the current standards are too, so they'll get to know what their students should be knowing in the standards. I don't want to make it too overwhelming, but so that they understand what the standards are so that they can help their students. And I know I talked way too much, but if you have questions, let me know. Thanks.
Thanks, Becky. And I'm going to actually ask you to unmute again because it just so happens that the article that you just asked us to share is the next item on our agenda.
Okay, and that actually I'll skip down to the question that was brought in, and then that will lead into the article. So the question that came in was, and I'll skip down to that in the agenda. And then Brooke Hatch is also on. She's our secondary math specialist in special ed as well. It says, I'm seeing good things happening in regular ed math class or general ed math class, but there's a disconnect when it comes to the special ed math classroom. What can we do to support our special education teachers to understand the importance of the deeper conceptual knowledge versus teaching memory tricks or just practicing the algorithm? Well, great question. Thank you for whoever sent that in. And this will be the hill that I die on. I hope not to die on it, actually, but it is really a great question. And it speaks to my heart so much. So I was really glad that that Molly and Melissa brought this to me because I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is what I like. I just bring this up all the time, and Brooke can speak to that too, because it is really what I bring up all the time. So what I would say to this first is that I hear you. It's what I talk to the teachers about all the time, that we have to get rid of the tips, the tricks, how do they say it? The mnemonics or whatever, the little sing-songy things that they do in the classroom. Teach the vocabulary, people, right? I'm telling the teachers that all the time, that our kids, and I do say our students. They're your students, they're my students, right? We have to get that piece across. The biggest thing I can ask you as the general education teachers is walk across the hall, invite your special educators to professional development with you. For some reason, special educators have a hard time if their name is not listed, not their personal name, but if they're not listed on the professional development saying this professional development is for special education teachers, for some reason, they don't go to it. So invite them to go to the UCTM conference, right? There's an initiative right now. You didn't hear this from me. Take off my background. But it is free for them. They just have to sign up. There's a link somewhere floating around out there that special education teachers can get in free. So let them know that they can sign up for that. Invite them to go. Brooke and I were talking earlier in a meeting. Invite them to go to your PLC meetings. Have them be a part of it and let them have a role in it so that they can hear about the good, all of the data, so that they can understand what is grade level. I know it sounds crazy, but sometimes Thank you, Rebecca. Yes, there is a special link for SPED teachers to register. Not to register, but to sign up to because they have to fill out a link or a paper to register for it. Sometimes when you are working with students that are so far behind, you don't understand what grade level looks like. Does that make sense to people? That you don't understand what grade level standards look like? So invite them into your class, let them understand, look at standards with them, look at grade level standards with them, let them understand what that is. I also linked an article that came out, CEC, which is Council for Exceptional Children, that is kind of our professional organization. They came out, their magazine this month was all on math. So I linked one article out of there that I thought was wonderful. It had several. Barbara Daughtry, I think is the last name, is an author that you know as well. I think she was one of the authors on the Math Pact. She is one of the authors of the article that I listed, that I put in there with you. Her article is with Asha Jitendra, which is a special educator researcher. It is on multiple representations. That would be a great article to share with your special educators. So Molly was so gracious to put that in the folder for you. So those are some of the suggestions. Brooke, do you have anything to add to that?
I think you did a really good job, and you led into the UCTM conference, which I was going to say that's pretty big. But I think one of the other things is we need to invite them to our PLCs, but not just as a seat in the room. Just like we, as our students, we don't want them to be just a seat in the general education classroom. We want them to be a participating member. Yeah. So please invite them to participate meaningfully in anything that they could possibly participate in. They really need to be part of that conversation.
Yeah. Do you guys have any questions for me? I'm always happy to chat with you, go over ideas with you. You can email me, whatever.
Becky and Brooke, can you both share your titles for those who might be newer to this community who don't know who you are?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do elementary mathematics as well as specially designed instruction. Specially designed instruction is the foundation of resource, so special education. It's what their IEP goals are built on.
And I am the secondary math specialist in the special education department.
Thanks, Becky, and thanks, Brooke. Does anybody in our broader group, because our USBE knowledge is great, but you all collectively know so much more than any of us do individually. Do any of you have anything to add for great things that you're doing in your LEA to try to help integrate your special ed teachers into your communities, integrate your students, and make sure that all students, and when we say all, we really mean all, are getting access to rigorous grade level mathematics content?
I know there are several LEAs that are working with Jolie Honey on the IEP project. I don't know if there's anybody here today that's working with her on that or have worked on her with that.
Hey, Molly, I can speak to something we've been doing in Alpine.
That would be great. Thanks, Boyce.
We've been really focusing with our lower grids, with our early childhood education on number sense routines and quality number sense routines, and aligning them with essential standards from the core. And we pushed that out. We did a training with all 60 of our elementary schools with kindergarten and first grade teachers. And as we did that, and we talked about specifically about choral counts and counting collections and good routines and good procedures for doing those in your classroom on a consistent basis. And naturally, a lot of schools invited their special ed teams to attend those. And after we did that, we thought, okay, we should have had everybody doing that. So now we're going out, we're revisiting that, and we're going to visit all of our special ed teams together with their PLC coach and with their schools, because these are practices they can be doing in their small group classrooms with kids with severe disabilities, and also in a regular resource classroom that we just met with our special ed coaches about that. And they were like, yes, this is so much better than doing any kind of rote memorization or any other things or tips and tricks that they might be trying to do that might be traditional things they've done in special ed. So we're excited to get this pushed out. We've done it with some of our SPED teachers, and now we're being more intentional about getting it with all of them.
That's amazing. Thank you, Boyce. Boyce, can I task you and ask you to do just a brief summary and put your contact information on a bullet underneath that question, so that if anyone has further questions about the work that you've done with your SPED teachers in Alpine, they can reach out to you?
Sure, just on the agenda there.
Just on the agenda document. Yep, just
Sure.
so that it's captured. Thank you so much. And I also want to shout out Boyce's team in Alpine also has some of their SPED coaches attending the Early Math Coaching Institute that USBE is hosting, which is just another great way that they're getting those SPED educators building their capacity to support high quality math. Thank you so much. Anybody else want to join in and share what's happening in their LEA to support high quality math instruction for all students, including our SPED populations?
I'll jump in. Sorry,
Thanks,
my
Monica.
my audio was not working for the first half of this meeting, so I could not hear anything. I could just see voices. Anyway, it's fixed now. But one thing we're doing is I am meeting and invited all the SPED teachers and their paraprofessionals to come to a half-day training, and we focused on just strategies they can use instead of going right to the standard algorithm. And so we focused primarily the first time with moving students from counting strategies to additive reasoning strategies. And then the second time we'll move into multiplicative strategies. And the reason we did it that way is because when we have push-in teachers or paraprofessionals, sometimes they feel the pressure to just get the kids to do the math. And so they resort to just showing kids how to do that problem and then having students kind of mimic that. And instead, there are things they could do just by questioning their students on what do they already know about that problem or about those numbers. How can they think about an 8? How could they break it apart? How far is it from 10? And by asking those kinds of questions, it moves students' thinking toward additive reasoning skills where they're building to 10 and then moving on, or building to tens and moving on. And that's a better type of strategy than just resorting to counting on fingers. And it's a better strategy than just let's set it up and stack it and then remember the steps of an algorithm type thing. And so we just felt like if I only had a half day with the teachers, what could we kind of accomplish? And it was just, what are the ways that we can solve this without using the algorithm, and helping students to use what they already know to help them solve these problems.
Awesome, Monica. Thanks for sharing. And Monica, I'm going to ask the same of you that I asked for Boyce, if you would be willing to add just a brief summary of what you've done and your contact info underneath that question item on the agenda, so that if folks want to talk to you further about it, that would be super helpful. And Jolie, can I put you on the spot since I saw that you joined our meeting? We had a question submitted about ways that folks can help support their special ed teachers on understanding the importance of deeper conceptual knowledge versus just teaching tricks and practicing the algorithm. And we shared a link to the NCTM CEC joint position statement. And I would love for you to talk to that just briefly, knowing that we are going to try to plan something to talk more about it, but just to give everyone an idea of what that is if they haven't had a chance to look at it.
Yeah, and Molly, you can put me on the spot anytime. I'm just like, I was really grateful. I was actually speaking with Kevin Dykema, the past president of NCTM, and we were talking, I was like, I really want to go to the SMECC meeting because I haven't been for a while. And then when I came in and to hear the voice and then Monica, like how awesome, you guys, thanks for sharing all the great things. And I also love that I'm seeing Becky and we're both like celebrating and geeking out with all the great things happening. The NCTM CEC, so the Council, for those of us that are math people, the CEC is the Council for Exceptional Children, and the National Council of Teacher of Mathematics and the Council for Exceptional Children each brought 4 leaders in the area to come together to write a joint position statement. And you guys can, like, for those of us who have known the math education and special education world, that was a huge deal. Like, it's the first time ever that those 2 organizations have come together to write a joint position statement to talk about what's important for students with disabilities. So really talking about them having access to grade level content and what does it mean to have a sense of belonging, and how do we look at students' assets? Is the word assets are not as strong in the paper, but the references and the conversation, but it's like, it's grade level content. It is looking at students and their sense of belonging and making sure that they have that sense of belonging. And then it's also like, what are good instructional strategies and how do we use those? But the paper, of course, is short because it has to be, but there was a lot of work and a lot of, in fact, future conversations of work that I'm really excited about. Thanks, Molly. I'm sure I said more than you meant for me to, but I just want to be like, woohoo, that the group here is all about that. I'll also put a little, I won't say anything about it, but USBE does support math leaders working with their districts in shifting how we look at IEP goals. And like, we have a big group professional learning going on with that right now. And Becky's involved, Melissa was involved as a district specialist. So I'm like, I'll put a little something in there. And then I would love for anyone who also has more knowledge with that to contribute to that. So thanks.
No, you're so welcome. Thank you, Jolie. Always happy to give you the mic and let you talk for as long as you want. And that position statement is really exciting for so many reasons, but it also is a really great tool for you as LEA leaders to leverage with your broader leadership that may not have the same math knowledge and understanding of best practice that you do, that like, hey, these national organizations have come together and said this is important. That position statement is a great thing for you to take to your other LEA leaders to say, we need to do work in this space. This is critical. So that's just another great tool for you to grab to leverage. And we have talked extensively about that question. I think we could probably talk all day about that question, but we promised that we would take a little bit of time to discuss one question that was carried over from our November meeting. And that's the first bullet in our questions from the field agenda, which someone last time was asking about how different LEAs balance their expectations with teachers around using their district adopted math curriculum. And my understanding, I'm not even actually sure if the author of this question is here, but I think it's still a good discussion to have. My understanding of the intention of their question was that they were wondering basically what your expectations are in your LEAs around using curriculum with fidelity, supplementing curriculum using outside sources, or like teaching to the standard, to the core versus teaching to the curriculum. So I would love to open the stage. I know we have several LEA leaders who have a lot of expertise and differing schools of thought in this topic. So I would love to open the stage and let anyone come off mute or into the chat about how they handle that in their LEA.
Okay, I'm gonna share again. Sorry, but we in Washington County, our mantra has changed. We don't say we're using the curriculum with fidelity. We say we are critical thinkers using a tool. So we want them to be, we want all teachers, we want to empower teachers to look at the curriculum as it is given and then use their math understanding and their knowledge of their students to teach, and especially teaching with the effective teaching practices and the whatever it's called. You know what I'm talking about. What's it called? My brain is fuzzy right now because of my audio. There you go.
Discussions.
Yes. Sorry. My brain is like, yeah. So in other words, stop being just blindly following a curriculum and be critical consumers of the curriculum. And well, that takes a lot of trust in teachers, but it also, the onus is kind of on the district to make sure that enough professional learning has been provided to teachers and enough support, because that professional learning also has to be provided to the coaches at the schools, because we need coaches and principals to support the use of the 8 mathematical teaching practices and all of that. And then we need teachers attending the professional learning that we provide, and then start applying those things. So that's basically where we're at with our district, because if we don't do that, our thought process is we are handing a lot of power to curriculum providers. And we know that at the heart of curriculum providers, like bottom line, they're there to earn money. And so they're going to throw all bells and whistles and every little new word or flavor of the month type of things into their program in order to get districts to purchase. But we have to make sure that we're doing the right things and we're following just best practices. And so we have to empower teachers to do that.
Thanks, Monica, for sharing. And I tried to capture at a high level what you were saying, Monica, but feel free to tweak what I wrote onto the agenda. Anybody else want to share how they handle that discussion within their LEA?
I can speak to ours. Similar to Monica's in a lot of ways. My predecessor, when we did our adoption of our current curriculum, he would describe it as not following a program with fidelity, but with integrity, meaning we look at what the heart is there, because we do have a district policy that everyone is supposed to use the district adopted curriculum, but that doesn't mean that you have to use it page by page every single day. And what I tend to see when I go into classrooms, I see either people using it, they're turning every single page, or they're really not using it and they're doing teachers pay teachers. And I'm like, okay, let's find something, let's find a spot in the middle. So the kind of the word I've been using as we meet with teams is use it as a springboard. It's a springboard. We have the scope and sequence. It's a springboard. If there's something that's dumb in it, don't do it. If there's something that's not effective, don't do it. If it doesn't align with our standards, don't do it. But that doesn't mean we throw the whole thing out. That means we, as teachers, we make good decisions. We do it as a team. We work together. We use the curriculum, but we use it in the best way possible. It is just a tool.
Thanks, Boyce. And we probably have time for one more person to contribute.
I have a comment.
Go for it, Teresa.
I work in a regional service center, And so I work with multiple districts and I work with both math and language arts. And the thing that I am realizing in myself is that the more knowledgeable I am, the more holes I recognize and see in curriculums. And so I think this is a very powerful discussion because that should be our goal for every LEA, to have their teachers be so knowledgeable that they recognize when part of the curriculum is ridiculous, right? Or when it's really powerful or really good. And so I think if that is our goal throughout every single LEA in the state, we would have some really powerful mathing going on in classrooms. So that's just my comment.
Thanks, Teresa. And I love that, giving everybody the charge as LEA leaders and state leaders that we want our teachers to have the knowledge and capacity to recognize when there's holes in their curriculum or recognize when their curricular tools are really powerful resources. So I adore that. We have about 5 minutes left, so I'm going to just briefly touch on the other question that was submitted into our forums was folks that were asking for statewide Acadience data from last year. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about it, but we did include links to the USBE data gateway where you can pull some of that statewide data that has been updated with the data from last school year, and then a spreadsheet that also includes the state mathematics growth goal for Acadience, the outcomes from last school year for every LEA, of what percentage of first through third grade students they had meeting those goals. And then you can also see at just a high level how they set their local goals and whether or not those goals were met. So that's something that you can peruse within your own time. But before we sign off, we do just want to make sure we give a plug. Our next informal meeting will be on Wednesday, January 15th. And that should say 2025, not 2024, because it will be after the new year. From 3 to 4 p.m. will be a little bit later in the afternoon on Zoom. We're very excited to speak with you all again then. If you have any other questions or topics that you'd like us to address next month, please add them to the Google form that is linked in this agenda. And then we will be having our next full day hybrid meeting on Thursday, February 13th from 9 to 3. That one will be at USBE in Basement West. We would love to have as many of you as possible there in person. We'd love seeing you all in your tiny squares on Zoom, but there is also something so special about when we are able to meet together in person and just have those genuine face-to-face three-dimensional collaborations. It's always fun when you see someone that you don't ever see except on Zoom, and they're so different than you expect them to be when you see them from the chest down and not just from the shoulders up. So thank you all so much for joining us today. Mike, Melissa, anything to add before we release everyone on for the rest of their, what's today, Tuesday?
No, thank you for joining. We love seeing you even in this very informal setting. Can't wait to hopefully see you in person or still on Zoom at our next upcoming meeting. There was a question in about Acadience math in the chat. Are you replying to that? The
Yes,
different measures for Acadience.
Yeah, the different measures. Last time we checked in, which was just like a week and a half ago now with our data and statistics folks, they said they were, when we checked a week and a half ago, the math tab was not on there at all. They just had the reading tabs, and they said they were still working on getting the Tableau reports done for math. So those should be forthcoming, and we can continue to push on our friends in data and statistics to get those updated. So thank you for that reminder, Boyce.
Yeah, thanks everyone, and thank you for being so willing to share your expertise and to learn from each other in this community. And I love that we've captured that in the notes for people to go back to later on. So thank you, everyone.
And we will share the recording from today's meeting in our follow-up email, and it will be posted on our SMECC Canvas course as well. We wish you all the very best rest of your December. You all make it to Christmas break and enjoy that holiday, Christmas, Hanukkah, New Year's, all of the celebrations that are coming up. And we look forward to seeing you all in January. Thanks, everybody.
If your loved one's gifted with birds, hopefully it's only one.
That's a great parting thought, Melissa. Or none.
Yeah, one or none.
One or none. Thanks, everyone. See ya.
Happy holidays.
Okay, friends, I'm gonna run. See ya.
Thanks for joining, Becky and
Thanks for
Brooke. Thank you
joining,
for
Becky.
sharing.
And
Yeah.
Brooke,
Yes, yeah.
okay, I guess we have another meeting, right? Hop on over to? I'm not sure.
Yes, we do. All right.
Okay.
I'm
I'll
going to
see
go
ya.
ahead and end this one.
Thank you so much for filling in.
No problem.